Piece of promotion and praise for Jeru the Damaja's studio album Wrath of the Mouth, released in 1996. I'm just going to be reading out some information related to this album, which peaked at number 3 on the US top R&B/hip-hop albums and number 35 on the US Billboard 200. So from the free encyclopedia, or most of this. The album was completely produced by DJ Premier and continues the themes of Afrocentricity, preserving hip-hop culture, and more about the harms of materialism that were discussed on The Sunrises in the East. We've previously uploaded a video about Sunrises in the East. In its liner notes, it even says, "This album was created to save hip-hop in the minds of the people who listen to it." One significant track that intends to uphold Jeru's vision of hip-hop is One Day, where he tells the story of Puff Daddy, Foxy Brown, and Bad Boy Records kidnapping somebody named Hip-Hop. The notorious B.I.G. took offense to the song, as he was signed to Bad Boy Records, and was closely connected with Puff Daddy and Foxy Brown. Biggie retaliated by throwing subtle jabs at Jeru in the song Kick in the Door, which is aimed at other rap artists as well. The track Me or the Papes contain... I referred to that as Me or the Papes, because I listened to the album without, seeing what track's playing, and... Sorry, Me or the Papes, what's it? Yeah, it's Me or the Papers. Papers. Paper. Contains aim for Puff Daddy, Jeru stating, "My name ain't Puff, I ain't got loot to waste," to which Puff Daddy did not respond. It contains many tracks that are sequels to songs in Jeru's first album, such as Revenge of the Prophet, Part 5, Me or the Papers, embarrassing mistake I made in the earlier upload, and Physical Stamina, featuring Afu-Ra, the one guest MC, as he was on Jeru's first album. The album was well received, but was not as critically acclaimed as his first album. John Bush of AllMusic was one of the few critics who felt that it was just as strong as Jeru's first album. Yeah, we'll be going through some perspectives on 2000s reviews submitted to Rate Your Music in a moment. I just want to read the rest of this. I might as well. Entertainment Weekly says, combined with DJ Premier's head-bobbing minimalist funk, Jeru tells it like it is, like no other. Vibe wrote, armed with a prophet's sense of social responsibility, Webster's vocab, and the best beats in the business, Jeru's at his best when he fights playerism with its most potent weapon, sharply visual, action-packed narrative. The Source gives it 3 mics. Good. Returning with an unabashed intolerance for the artistic moves of some well-known rap figures, Jeru the Damaja proves that his musical compositions are too mentally stimulating to be ignored. Melody Maker ranked at number 43 on Melody Maker's 1996 list of albums of the year. If I may share my own thoughts briefly, I may prefer this album. I'm such a sucker for Sketches of Spain, so it's easy for me to say that I might prefer Wrath of the Mouth slightly to The Sunrises in the East, although I feel like maybe the former album is more consistent. I do appreciate also Wrath of the Mouth. It's I think it's nice that he did address the criticism he received most famously from the Fugees over Da Bitches, and so, Me or the Papers addresses this, I think, fairly well. It might not be sufficient, but at least there was an effort. It's great. I might like the production in general more. I don't remember how well the Sunrises in the East sold, but whatever profits it made were put well to use on this recording. It's a very captivating listen, particularly in headphones. Anyway, some of the RYM submitted reviews. These are from 2004. Rameses, Jeru's best album, one of the best hip-hop albums ever, beats produced by the Premier, and it shows. Excellent. Jeru's old-school sounding flow is full of 100% substance, nothing but true lyrics. Koha, Jeru speaks the truth. DJ Premier drops the beats, true hip-hop. If you want to know what is wrong with the current state of hip-hop, Jeru the Damaja will shed some light. A great album from start to finish. What else was interesting here? Darts writes in 2005, great stuff. I don't know if I like this or The Sunrises in the East more, though it's hard. Some ill primo production as usual. Also, Jeru comes hard. Favorite tracks are Black Cowboys, Too Perverted, and Not the Average. Crispy Appeal, also, 2006. This album is breathtaking to say the least. It takes the listener by surprise and keeps them coming back for a second, third, or fourth listen. The production is, of course, by the legend himself, Primo. Premier's production was 55% the reason why I got the album, but I was pleasantly surprised by Jeru's lyrical prowess. On Jeru's debut, I felt that he lacked energy or emphasis in his lyrics. However, he comes back on this album with amazing lyrical technique and finesse. He's one of the most agile and recognizable rappers of all time. He can incorporate complex phrases and words flawlessly without sounding corny, and injects his poetry into the top-notch Primo production. I had to nick half a point off for the sound quality and sometimes offbeat production. The bass hit on Too Perverted could have been more carefully executed, but I get the gist of it all the same. Same gripe for the hi-hats on Black Cowboys, but the key tracks here are Not the Average, Ya Playin Yaself, The Frustrated I'm not going to say the N-word out loud here, and Black Cowboys. Peace. Laser X-54, also in 2006, although The Sun Rises in the East is widely considered an East Coast classic, I gotta say that this one trumps it in every possible respect. In terms of beats, Primo provides more variation, and this pays off big time. I always thought that the first one was a little monotonous and lacked the energy, and the difference is quite audible. Jeru also turns in some of the hardest verses in his career. Jeru has to be one of the most criminally underrated rappers of the 90s. Do yourself a favor and get this CD. Now I'd like to read out, not an adoring review, although still very positive, GOZ, or GOZ, whichever. March 31st, 2007. Back in 1994, Jeru the Damaja had the underground on lock with his classic album The Sun Rises in the East. Jeru is a very unique MC. He has that hardcore vibe heard from Nas, Wu-Tang, DITC, etc., but his lyrics and lifestyle, vegetarian, Rastafarian, leans more toward alternative acts, although they were mostly Muslim. He's kind of like Brooklyn's answer to KRS-One. Turn your pages to 1996. In just 2 years, hip-hop underwent a huge change. Hip-hop's change was like something out of puberty. Even though hip-hop was adult in the mid-90s, it maintained the innocence of a little girl. But in 1996, now hip-hop truly exuded a big-tittied, big-bootied, promiscuous and menstrual woman. Wow. Naturally, Jeru was a little worried since he doesn't want his love to form into a whore. See, da bitches. He's addressing the change in hip-hop wouldn't come without toes getting stomped. At the time of the release of Jeru's sophomore Wrath of the Muff, he had to clap back at the Fugees after they criticized him. No matter who you damage, you're still a false prophet. And blase, yeah, I've never heard of him either. But the song here that made hip-hop remove her fancy earrings and release the claws was One Day. As you know, there was the Death Row Bad Boy beef. Well, in One Day, Jeru split the difference and dissed both Suge Knight and Puff Daddy, and for good measure, the skankily clad Foxy Brown. He subliminally dissed other cats in Ya Playin Yaself, most likely a response to Player's Anthem. But let's get beyond the drama. The production here was done by Jeru's former PNC DJ Premier, so needless to say, it's nothing short of top-notch, and Jeru kills it as usual, although he lacks the energy he had in Sunrises. Wrath of the Math basically follows the same formula of Sunrises. On both there are tracks where Jeru rips rhymes, tracks where Jeru addresses issues, a track where Jeru studies real women and bitches, a track of his alter ego The Prophet, and a track with Afu-Ra. This may make Wrath of the Math seem like a bastardized version of the predecessor. It kind of is, but it's still worth having. The problem here is that a couple of songs ain't all that great, and the album as a whole isn't executed as well as Sunrises. For those that have Sunrises, is hungry for more dirty, rotten scoundrels, and Wrath of the Math will tide you over. I recommend this to any hip-hop fan. Non-fans may like Jeru's more responsible lyrics, but they probably won't like his hardcore demeanor. Although Jeru addresses hip-hop's surprising change, it may have been futile. Hip-hop would become more hoard out in later years, and Jeru is left with a severed relationship with Notorious B.I.G., see his Kick in the Door, and DJ Premier, see Jeru's 99.9%. I think I'll close it here. Do listen to this album if you're so inclined. If you're already familiar with the album, you probably don't need me to tell you how anyone else how you feel about it. And if you haven't, perhaps check out The Sunrises in the East first, and then give Wrath of the Math a listen. If one enjoys The Sunrises in the East, they will, I think, find this a very, very satiating follow-up release. And thanks once again, everyone.